Welcome to the Scared But Not Damaged podcast, a podcast that supports, empowers, and inspires women that have experienced abuse or experiencing emotional trauma or pain. This podcast will challenge you to push against the tides and rewrite your story. On this show, I will be sharing some of the principles of Scared But Not Damaged, a life that has gone through adversity and abuse and has come out strong in spite of life's challenges. Despite the scars, your worth and your value remains intact and undamaged. Each week, we will discuss topics like what is abuse, what are the red flags that you are in an abusive relationship or marriage. I am your host, Naomi. Thanks. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this new episode. Welcome back to Scared But Not Damaged podcast. Yes, to Scared But Not Damaged podcast. Today is a lovely day and we have a new guest in the house. It's a wonderful week. I hope you people enjoyed the week, and it's nice to have you back again to listen to another episode. And today we are going to talk about thriving as a domestic violence survivor. And I have with me a wonderful person in the house. She's a sister, she's a friend, she's a professional, just name it. She's a medical doctor. In the house, we have Dr. Linda Agu. Dr. Linda, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Naomi.
Yes, so I'd like to just quickly give an intro of who Dr. Linda is. Dr. Linda Agu is the CEO and founder of two nonprofit organizations, Arise and Shine Incorporation in the US and Star Restored in Nigeria. She obtained a bachelor's degree in medicine and surgery from the University of Calabar and received an MBA from the University of Phoenix, Arizona, USA. Dr. Agu is a thriver of domestic violence, and from this stems her passion to help women affected by gender-based domestic violence. She believes a broken and devalued woman can still rediscover their light and live a purposeful life. She helps broken women find their voice and empowers them to move past their shame and live their lives with no regrets. She's married to Oliver Agu, and they have a son, and they've made their home in Boston. So, Dr. Linda, you're highly welcome to today's episode on Scared But Not Damaged podcast.
Thank you so much, Naomi. It's a privilege, and I really appreciate you for inviting me to your platform. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Dr. Linda, can you tell my listeners a fun fact about you?
Some fun facts about me. One, I love to dance. I can dance for Africa. I love to dance, and I love nice music, irrespective of what language, what kind of music. I wish I had taken some dancing classes. Like I love the Spanish salsa, merengue, cha-cha, and all that. And I really love to dance. It's one of my stress busters. And I love to cook. As an Efik girl, if you know who an Efik girl is, the Efik girls, they know how to cook very well. So
sure.
I love to cook.
Okay, thank you. It's good to know that about you. So, listeners, well, today's episode is going to be lit. I just want to find out, Dr. Linda is someone that has gone through domestic violence, and she takes so much delight in helping people and issues about domestic violence. So, what does domestic violence mean to you? What does it mean to you as a person? Yeah.
To me, domestic violence, I also call it, it's also domestic violence. You can call it domestic abuse too.
Yeah.
Or intimate partner violence. So you
Yes.
can define it as a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner.
Yeah.
So the abuse could be physical, could be sexual, it could be emotional, economic, psychological actions or threats, etc. Or any action that influences another person.
Yeah.
It always has to be controlled and it has to be a pattern. Some of other things that includes abuse could be behaviors that frighten, it could intimidate, terrorize, manipulate, hurt, humiliate, or even wound someone else. So domestic violence to me is not just physical alone, which most people think is just physical alone. Domestic violence, any behavior,
Yeah.
and the purpose of which is to gain power and control over a spouse, a partner, a girl, a boyfriend, or intimate family member.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. The way you just explained what it meant to you. Okay. So how did domestic abuse or domestic violence affect you as a person?
I had all forms of domestic violence except physical. So every other forms of domestic violence I suffered apart from physical. The major effect was on my mental health.
Okay.
Before I got married, I was a yes pleaser to everyone. My self-confidence was not that great. So going into a relationship where I was abused, the little self-esteem that I had disappeared. So I lost all of my self-esteem, anyone that was even left at all.
Mm.
I went into depression. I was saddened most of the time. I had suicidal ideations. I had nightmares, severe anxiety, so many things. It even affected my health. I had health issues. I developed health issues, some of which I'm still struggling with up till now.
Mm.
So many things. My mental health was just a mess. I had
Wow.
uncontrollable thoughts. I had post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, increased anxiety, mental instability, so many things. I had this thought of feeling worthless.
Mm. Hopelessness as well.
Hopelessness. I felt like I was just a piece of trash.
Mm. Wow. It's amazing how when I did the research and I did an episode, not a research, sorry, I did an episode where I talked about the impact of domestic violence, and these things were all the things I talked about. And sometimes, when you're doing it and you're telling people, it's some people might not believe. So each time I bring someone in to the show and they talk about of the impact of domestic abuse on their lives, it's a good thing that I could hear you say post-traumatic stress disorder, health issues, high blood pressure, and things, suicide ideas were coming up. Yeah. And the feeling of what those were the things. So I just always feel so happy when a survivor comes up and mentions that as well. So, I mean, the listeners can say, whoa, domestic violence is not just you having an issue with your husband. It's life-threatening.
Mm-hmm.
The impact is huge and very significant. Negatively, is very significant to to the victim.
Yeah.
And very few people are lucky because sometimes a lot of people die in it, and people don't know the cause of death. People just know, the wife slumped and died, but they don't know she's been suffering abuse for over so many years, has been a victim. They don't know that.
Sure.
So that's why we're making this awareness, and thank God you're part of this awareness. We're creating this awareness for people to know the destructive nature of domestic violence. And when you're with a partner that is controlling, very coercive, and using manipulation and all there is to an abuser, and we're teaching people to know the red flags, so that you don't end up in that kind of relationship. And peradventure, you're already married and you see yourself there, run, like we say. So I'm really so glad the way you've kind of delved in, and it will now kind of resonate with the listener and they know this thing is real. Because everybody I bring on the platform, we have something similar to say. Our impacts are always very similar to one another. So thank you so much. So how did you how were you now able to start striving after domestic violence? Like, you left and I can see you're doing so much for yourself. How were you able to strive?
Well, that's a very important question. Thank you so much for that question. Like I tell people, the effects of domestic violence or any trauma you go through, it varies on individuals, the individual's response to stress, your age, the frequency, and the severity of the abuse. So I was an immigrant. I came from Nigeria down here to the US. I had no family. And then so going through that alone, I just felt I was the only one in the world. I felt I was just the only one going through this kind of situation because before now,
Dr. Linda, I felt that way when I was going through abuse myself. I felt that way. I was like, look around. I'm like, am I the only one? And I felt I was the only one. So I felt nobody will understand because I seem to be the only one suffering it. Yeah, I felt that way too. Yeah.
I felt that when that's what happens sometimes when you have problem, you think to isolate yourself, you think you're the only one going through that problem. So I reached out to the church, the pastor. They prayed for me, prayers, fasted, all those things, but it did not help. And one day during one of the abuse episodes, I was locked out of the house. I'm just going to summarize my story. I lived in my car for a while. I lived in the car. In a cold winter night, I was locked out of the house because I went to church. And I got in touch with my friend. I called my friend. And my friend told me, Linda, this is abuse. I'm like, what are you talking about, abuse? It's just him. Maybe it's me. He told me not to go to church. I started blaming myself for reasons why I was being treated that way. And my friend told me I could get help. So first of all, it sounded like it's not true. It's not possible. My passport, my document, I didn't have my papers yet, so my passport was taken from me. How do I start life? So my friend was telling me all these things that could happen. I could start on my own, I thought of myself, I'm like, it's better to just go back to Nigeria. But if I go back to Nigeria, what do I tell people? What do I tell my family? Everyone knows I've gone to the US. I'm supposed to be taking my board exams and then practicing as a physician. And this is me here, and I was just beside myself. And then I became suicidal. I wanted to end myself, but thank God for the grace of God that broke those shackles of suicide. So my friend introduced me to a friend, and she started telling me on all the signs of domestic violence and all the options out there, how I can get help. To me, those things, the first thing I had to do with myself was to work on my mind. And don't forget, when I was going through this domestic violence, I was angry with God. Why did God allow me to go through this? My relationship with God, I just cut relationship with God. I felt God had abandoned me. So, you know what, God, I'll abandon you too. Please, you're not helping me. Please, just stay out of this. I'll deal with it myself. Until one day I sat down, God, I found out that even when I was trying to do the counseling, when I was trying to do all those things, it didn't really help me. And I just don't know how the story of the prodigal son just came afresh to me. It was like I saw myself playing out the prodigal son. I saw myself running back. I had to run back to God. I said, God, please, I've messed up. I have left you in the midst of all this, because sometimes when we go through issues in life, instead of running to God, because I'm a person of faith, but in that time when I wasn't thinking about faith. I ran away from God. So I had to go back to God. And I thank God for that opportunity. I told God, I said, God, you are the only one that can help me out of this. And God started working in me. And I remember the scriptures God gave me and told me that He's going to make a way where there seems to be no way. And with God, all things are possible. I'm like, God, you mean with my situation it's possible? And God started showing me. It was like I was writing these things down. God told me He would change my story. I'll be a voice to other women. He will bring me out of this. And God started working on me. And the first place God had to work on me was my mind. Because in my mind, your mind is where everything is. Your mind is very powerful. What you think. So the Bible says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is.
So he is.
So I started thinking, I said, Linda, you can make it again. I started seeing myself as a plant. I love plants a lot. I have plants all over my house. So I started seeing myself as a plant that has been ignored, that was kept in a dark corner. But now I'm beginning to water the plant, beginning to add manure to the plant. So the plant begins to flourish. The plant begins. It was so vivid. God showed me that and said, Linda, start working on your mind. I started to embrace, I started forgiving myself. Because the first thing I needed to do was to forgive myself. I felt I was a failure. I failed myself. I failed my family. I failed the church. So I had to start forgiving myself. I said, Linda, you can rise above your mistake. You know what? When you are in that dark situation, you feel that you are, like I said before, you feel like you're the only one that has made this mistake. There's nobody else in the world that has made this mistake. And you know what? I couldn't remember anybody that has been married that was going through this. I couldn't remember anybody that had gone through it. It was just me. But when God started showing me and told me, you know what, and he took me to the scriptures, took me of people in the scriptures that their lives were a mess. Took me through the prostitute, how through the prostitute in the Bible, we have the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Took me through so many people that had a mess in their life in the Bible. And God says, you know what, I'll make a way where there seems to be no way. I chose to forgive myself and forget the past and then to move on. And then I started working on myself and I started going for counseling. See, people think counseling as a spiritual, as a faith-based person, there's no place for counseling. I tell you, there's a place for counseling. When I went to counseling, I got good counseling session. I opened up and I listened to other people's stories. Those counseling sessions helped me. I was able to work on myself. I was able to see myself the way God had created me to be. Because I was used to being told you're good for nothing, you're ugly, you're not smart, nobody's going to love you. If you leave me, nobody's going to marry you. That's the end of you. You know, you don't amount to nothing. You don't worth anything. I'm worthless, and all those words. So I had to work on my mind, and I tell myself, Linda, you're good looking. Linda, you're strong. Linda, you're lovable. Linda, you can do it. I started speaking to myself. I started doing all those. I didn't know then what those affirmations were, but I started talking to myself and changing all those negative mindset. I started replacing them. I started connecting with people. Joyce Meyer was one of the mentors. I started reading her books. I started, the quest to gain knowledge, the quest to see people that have gone through situations like me. How broken women have been revived, and how they're thriving. And I started seeing myself. I said, no, Linda, you are not just a survivor of domestic violence. You are going to be a thriver. I'm going to thrive through this. And that's when I started working on my self-esteem. You see, just like what they say, there's a common saying, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yeah,
it's a saying that holds true. So I started taking care of myself. Whether you're a woman, you're a man, the top priority is taking self-care. Taking care, because sorry, my voice my answering phone just came up. So I started taking care of myself. I said, no, Linda, if you don't take care of yourself, you don't make yourself happy, nobody else is going to make you happy. I was now intentional, making myself happy and doing everything possible that I could do to make myself happy. Listening to books, going out to meet people. I worked on my self-esteem because I know my self-esteem, if I can work on my self-esteem, I'll be at peace with myself and then it will exude. So I started making a list of my strengths, my achievement. I started admiring myself. I started thinking positively about myself. And I knew that I was a unique and valuable person. I challenged myself. I started working on my career. And I looked at ways and how could I reinvent myself and improve on my career. So I said, no, I don't need to feel pressured by what's going on. I started working. career building takes time in itself. So I started working on my career. Since I couldn't do my boards, I did my MBA at Phoenix University. I started writing out goals because I know that the future is bright. And I looked at ways because I know that if my future looks good and if I start working on my goals, I'm going to better myself. I started being confident and I started being happy. And I did other things. But the first thing I did was to go to God. And God now directed me on steps and the people to meet, the things to do. And that's how I started thriving.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Linda, for breaking that down, breaking all that down for us to see how the tools you used that was responsible for your thrive, for you to thrive in this as a survivor. That was supposed to be the.
Sorry, I forgot to mention one important thing. I started making good. I had to work on my community. I had some bunch of friends that were always pulling me down, not looking for ways to make me feel good about myself. So I had to get rid of those ones and start making good friends.
Wow.
I looked for friends that were looking for ways intentionally to help me build my self-esteem and to make me build myself in my career. So started making good friends too. Friends are very, very important.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I was just going to find out, how can victims of abuse break free from that trap of feeling sorry or blaming themselves for what they have been through? Because that seems to be a pattern. So hard to forgive and even forgive ourselves, making that decision to be with that person because we cannot blame ourselves as victims, So what can they do to break away from that feeling or that trap, of feeling sorry and blaming themselves all the time?
Yeah, like I said before, your mindset is very, very important. You need to have a positive mindset. You need to forget the things that have gone and focus on the future, on what lies ahead.
Yeah.
There's a place that Paul quotes in the Bible. It says, forgetting the things that have gone behind and looking forward. What am I going to do with beating myself? You just keep yourself in a mood all through. You think of what you've done, your mistakes. What are you going to do about it? Yes, it's good to, acknowledge your mistakes, acknowledge your past, but look for ways. What can I do about them? What can I do? The things you can't do much about them, you let them go. You look for ways to improve on your future. You look on ways to now, like what I've gone through now, if I've used it to be an advocate for domestic violence.
Yeah.
You and I wouldn't be talking if I did not decide to forget about what's going and move on. So forget about the things forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself, because I personally, one of the greatest issues I had was a shame. Domestic violence comes with its own baggage, but I had shame all written all over me. I was so ashamed that every time to go to the store was like it was like domestic violence was written on my forehead.
Yeah.
Yes, everywhere I go, I couldn't talk with any of my colleagues. Even in church, I couldn't fit in. Everywhere I went to, I felt although to some places I was being ostracized, some places too, I kindly secluded myself because I felt ashamed. Everybody here I couldn't, am I married? Am I not married? What am I? So you need to forgive yourself and rise above your mistakes. When you think of all these things, all these negative thoughts, they want to keep you down. And that's what the plan of the devil is. The plan of the devil is to keep you down. The Bible says God has come to give us life, an abundant life. And so what we do every day is, what are we doing? Are we going back to our past, or are we moving towards the future? I had to make up my mind and say, you know what, Linda, I don't care how people see me. I don't care, because the narrative is that they go to Nigeria, you bring a girl from Nigeria to the Western world, and she comes to the Western world, she divorces you,
Yeah.
And that was what I was ashamed of. I didn't want to be part of that statistics. I didn't want to be part of it. So I told God, please, that was one thing that was really holding me. I didn't want to be part of the statistics, but hey, When life throws you lemons, you make lemonade out of it.
Out of it.
So I told myself, you know what? This has happened. I'm going to rise above it. I'm going to move on. I'm going to forget about everything that has happened. It's not easy to forget like that, but you know
No,
what?
it's not.
I'm not going to sit down and start brooding over it. I'm not making a change. It's a mistake. I've thought about it. Everything that's a mistake is what I just put it under. I just know what I moved. Your past is abstract. So I choose to forget my past and let it go. I've learned how to flush. I call it flush it. I've learned how to flush it like you flush anything you want to flush. That is my past. Nobody can take it away from me. And through my past, you know what? I found out that in broken vessels, there could still be something good out of the broken vessel.
Absolutely.
Like you and I are talking because of my past. I own it. It's my story. It's my story. I own it. It's going to be part of my life, but you know what? I'm not going to let it pull me down.
Yeah.
I started looking for some women to look for people that can help them. Personal development, self-esteem, because that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Like again, I said, if you don't feel good, you can't give what you don't have.
You can't. No.
When your self-esteem has been damaged because of domestic violence, you feel everyone sees you as the problem. But I started thinking that, no, Linda, I'm not a problem. I am beautiful. I am strong. I am in control. I started looking for ways to rebuild myself. So look for ways to rebuild your self-confidence. Speak with people, meet counselors, look for tools on how you can move past your shame and still live a life of purpose. Do something that you have been putting off before. Avoid places and people that treat you badly. Challenge the negative thoughts about yourself. Think positively about yourself. You know what? If your mind can think it, your eyes can see it, then you can be it.
Wow.
So I set a realistic challenge for myself and to achieve it. Even to do the MBA then, it wasn't easy to do the MBA. I was working then, I was doing 2 jobs, but I still went through that MBA. And every time I look at it, I applaud myself for going through that.
Absolutely.
I learned to manage your stress level, focus on yourself, and then when you take care of yourself, every other thing. My friend used to say something, and you know the tanker, the tank. What do you call it? There's this truck that distributes gas to the filling stations, right?
Yeah.
To the gas stations. So if that truck is faulty, if that truck is not strong enough, it's not able to deliver to the gas station. And if they don't deliver to the gas station, you and I can't go to the gas station and get our gas. Do you understand? That means we have to go to the depot. So the tank itself, the truck itself has to be strong, has to be positively okay, has to be strong, and has to be able to be reliable before you can help others. Because if you can't help yourself, you can't help others.
Okay. Well done. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us the tools on how to help us, nuggets on how to help us stop blaming ourselves and working on our self-esteem to be able to thrive and leaving our past behind, the pain, the hurts, the scars, and moving ahead, because yesterday is gone and today is a brand new day and tomorrow is still hanging, so we need to embrace today and look forward to a brighter tomorrow. Thank you so much. Coming to the end of the podcast, you are one brave woman I have seen, having a medical degree, and you've gone through all this, because some people think when you go through domestic violence, either because you're dumb or you're stupid, you're not smart. They don't understand it's not that. I mean, you don't know till you get in. And it's only when you've made that covenant, you're now living together, that abuse shows. A lot of people don't know. It has nothing to do with your profession. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It's not because you're stupid. So I'm really glad to have Dr. Linda on the show today, just to let people know, no, it's not just because you're weak. It could happen to anybody. And the good thing, you almost lost your mind like every other victim. But thank God for that inner strength, the resilience that you were able to propel and surround yourself with positive people that influenced you, and get rid of the ones that were pulling you down or making you feel like a nobody. But today, look at where you are, and how God has helped you in leaps and bounds, that you have been able to achieve more, and been able to, you're now helping people so that they recover and be able to live their best lives. So we're coming to the end of this show now. And what last word can you leave with the listeners today? As this is the month of domestic violence, domestic abuse awareness, what last word can you leave with the listeners?
Well, I want to say to anyone listening, first of all, know that you were created in the image of God. And God never created anything that is junk. He created everything first. He created everything perfect. So start reversing every negativity that was told to you. Flip it and create affirmations for yourself. Like I say, I'm special, I'm valuable, I'm unique, I'm lovable, I'm wise. What are you telling yourself? What are you telling yourself? Because your subconscious mind doesn't even recognize that you are making a joke when you say, I'm stupid, I'm not good. So we need to speak to ourselves. No one deserves abuse. No one deserves. The abuse is not your fault. And everyone deserves a relationship that is free from domestic violence. So you need to be conscious of what you say to yourself. You need to explore yourself and look for the positive friends and things, people around, the positive ways you can create even positivity in your life. How can I build my self-esteem? Again, you are the CEO of your mental space. When God called you, it was not a conference call, it was just you alone. So you need to ask God, go back to God and ask God, where do you want me? And not even those questions you say, why me, God? But Lord, this has happened to me. No more why me, God. God, how can I use this to be a blessing to people? Like I said, you and I are speaking now because of these scars. Our scars are there, but we can still use out of our scars, out of our brokenness, there could still be usefulness.
Absolutely. True.
So you can reinvent yourself. You can look for ways to be all that God wants you to be. Your mind is your greatest asset. Once you can work on your mind, you can invest in everything. We invest in everything. We invest in our homes, we invest in ourselves, but sometimes we forget to invest in our minds. You take time in the Word, take time to speak to yourself, take time to go back to your Creator. If your phone is bad, we go to the manual of the phone. But if our life is broken, we need to go to the manufacturer, who is God, and He will help us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I don't forget to thank my friend, because I had a good friend for saving my life from the abuser. And she gave me facts that I needed in the emergency on how to equip myself and get out of it. So surround yourself too with good friends that are valuable to you.
Wow. Thank you so much. It's a good thing to hear all this coming from a survivor, and we thank God you didn't die in it. You were able to come out, though you came out limping, but your story is changed now, and you're able to help other people either not make that same decision or get help early, so they probably don't suffer as much as we did. Because in my own time, I never knew anything about domestic violence. I've never heard of it before, and I never got support. All I knew was I was almost going, I felt like dying every other day, and I said this was not life. Until one day I spoke to someone, and the person was like, "Are you ready to leave?" And I said, "At this point, there's no point, because I wasn't living a life." So I left. But prior to that time, I never spoke about it to anybody. Even I've left now for a couple of years, and but it's a good thing. We thank God we're alive, and we're trying to save lives here, because people never know the magnitude or the significance of domestic abuse, and it can affect people, and people could die from it. People don't know that, so it's good that they get the awareness, and I pray they understand. And when they know somebody, it's even if you don't know what to do, as long as you know this awareness, get in touch with us, and we can give the help we can, or the knowledge you have. Google it online in your environment, just domestic violence helpline or something, whatever country you are, you would find something, and you can keep yourself safe. And if you've got children, you can also keep your children safe. So at this point, I would like to say thank you, Dr. Linda, for coming on my show. And thank you so much for your time that you spent and giving us the nuggets for being a survivor of domestic violence. So thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.
Thank you so much, Mommy. You too have a lovely weekend. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Scared But Not Damaged podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Scared But Not Damaged so you don't miss a show. Kindly subscribe to the show so you know when new episodes are released, and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you amazing episodes. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.